Fired up, footballers. Welcome back to Spitting Fire YT. Jeffrey and James here with you as always.
Long time no see.
We're kind of combining our post-game report with an episode right here. 6 L's in a row. It's been getting hard, talking about L's and L's and L's.
It's getting hard to analyze the same game plan.
Yeah.
That's been deployed all season. Essentially, it's just entering each and every game with an undermanned roster. Mm-hmm. And then when you go into those games when you need a roster turnover game,
a rotation
game, it's even worse.
Yeah.
So we got a USL level quality squad already out there, and then, with a couple of MLSers mixed in, and then you take those MLSers out, and it's even more deplorable to the point where you can't beat the low end rungs of the league, the Colorados, the San Jose's. RSL's beating the crap out of you at the Rio Tinto.
Let's talk stats. So real quick, Real Salt Lake 2, Chicago 1, 15 shots, 10 of those on net for Real Salt Lake, 11 shots for Chicago Fire, 4 of those on net, 66% possession for Real Salt Lake, 34 for Chicago. So Real Salt Lake really just possessed us the whole time.
66% possession against the RSL.
514 passes for 83%. 254 passes, Chicago Fire for 69%.
They didn't even get over 300 passes.
It's really bad.
That's
Crosses,
alarming.
17 for Real Salt Lake, 16 for Chicago. Corners, 7-4. Aerial duels, 45-51 in favor of Chicago.
That's rare.
Saves, 3 for Real Salt Lake. I put this on here for Stephen Cleveland.
Stephen Cleveland.
He had 8 saves in the match, so he had a pretty decent game, even though he let in a couple goals, but 8 saves on the match.
A couple good saves too. Point blank where you saw his reactions coming out and why people had touted him as having some of the best reactions out there. They said that this is why he came to the MLS All-Star game last year. He was training with some of the people just because he had such great fast twitch stuff and over Richard. Yeah. Richard might not have been to the team at that point, but going forward, Richard and Steven are going to be battling it out for this goal.
Well, what I liked in the first minute or two in the game, a ball came back to him. He hit a long ball. It went further than halfway, and then we actually generated a scoring chance from it.
Wow.
So that's already a plus. So my last stat I have, 4 fouls for Real Salt Lake, 14 for Chicago. So the Fire were underwater pretty much the whole game. Luckily scored off a Basti wonder strike in the second half.
We've been asking for that, too, by the way. I was asking him, when are we going to see that patented Basti wonder strike for this guy? He's been here almost 2 years.
Yeah.
And then finally, bam, there it is.
So, but unfortunately, we lost. We gave up a goal right before the end of the first half to Krilic. Then Basti scored right coming out of half. And then Krilic got another goal. The Fire had a few opportunities, a couple half chances, but Real Salt Lake, you heard the stats, 500 passes to not even 300. So they pretty much controlled the whole game.
66% possession for the other team. And that's just been the way it's been for the Chicago Fire all year. They don't really have answers on offense, and they don't have answers on defense. And the question is, does it come down to Pauno's tactics, or does it come down to the level of caliber player that he's been provided? In this case, with the amount of results that we have, it's really got to be the caliber of player that he was provided, because
Pauno has to be perfect.
He had better players at his disposal last year, and we saw much better results throughout the season. And we just know that he's dealing with only having 5 or 7 max MLS caliber players, and the rest he's got to figure it out. And for a week-to-week game that you're depending on 11 to 18 guys, he's only has 7 that he can always consistently rely on.
I saw a good quote. I forgot what it was. It was you can't blame the cook if the kitchen isn't stocked. But I will make the argument. I still think Pauno, it wasn't a perfect season from this year. And even last year, with a better roster, still wasn't a good season because we tailed off. We still dropped some points, and we got bounced in the first game of the playoffs. And this year, granted, he had to be perfect with his selection and his tactics given this roster talent. But he's done a decent job, and I don't think it's fair to pin all this blame on him. But
it's not. He's learning on the job, and you know what? That postseason appearance was his first postseason appearance. He got bounced. Hopefully, he was able to learn from it, but he wasn't able to capitalize on it because of the roster that he was provided, and he wasn't able to build on his own successes because of the limitations that Nelson has put on him.
Yeah, you can see the frustration on his face. I really think the season came down to him knowing he didn't have a good roster And then he started getting this trust issues. Not only did he know that he had bad players, but he also developed trust issues. So you didn't see a lot of Drew Connor or Lillard and things like that. You saw people going in his doghouse. So,
or Rafa Ramos, who just got punted.
That actually, nope. That's really all we have on the game. Campos got hurt in the 32nd minute, came out. Hassler came on. Basti came on at halftime for Corrales. Katai came on in the 69th minute for Edwards. The starting lineup was Gordon up top. It was kind of like a 5-4-1, a weird formation. They were just sitting a lot. Gordon up top, Lucho, Chani, Connor, Edwards, that flat 4 in the middle. Flat 5 in the back was Corrales, Brandon Vincent, Campbell, Ellis, and then Campos, who came out, and then Cleveland got his first nod in net. Edwards, Cleveland, Basti, and Hassler played pretty well. Everyone else was pretty meh. And yeah, I guess that's all I have. We'll move on. Any last thoughts for you, James?
You said it right there when you said the 5-4-1 flat. That's how this team plays defense. They just play flat defense. They play uninspired defense. Brandon Vincent doesn't know how to close down to save his life. This guy's development has gone to the wayside, to such a terrible detriment to his ability, because he was a quality left back in MLS up until the point where we've totally destroyed his talent. Now this guy might need to go to USL to get some time at left back.
I don't think he needs USL. He just needs first team time at MLS level.
One game at left back in USL will bring him back.
Just one game at the MLS level. Two games at the MLS level.
No, it's not one game at MLS. He needed the season there, and he didn't get that. And then we see these mistakes that he's making because he's been put in a position where he's not, it doesn't suit his skill set. He's a smaller dude, and he's quicker, he's faster, but he still lacks some of the explosiveness of some of these guys that are coming at him. Mm-hmm. So he plays a bit safer and a bit more, tries to be a bit more conservative, and then he still allows for these crosses to come through. Yeah. And he's creating dangerous plays through his inability to close these guys down. And that's something we've seen from him all season. And that's not just him. That's Ellis. That's Corrales. Yes. That's every single person that we've seen on that back line this year that isn't Matt Polster.
Yeah, well, when you're late generally means you're thinking and not playing, and so that's what's happening. I mean, Brandon's not a center back, so he's thinking and he's slow to react. He's just not reacting to it naturally, but
even Johan and Campbell have been just slow to react.
Definitely, last thing we'll say, it definitely stinks that Brandon played center back. Now he's not even sniffing that new U.S. men's national team camp anymore.
He wasn't going to be,
Polster.
But he's not even sniffing an MLS starting lineup with this current caliber of play right now. But Pauno is, of course, leaning on him to play center back just because of the dearth of talent on this team.
Moving on. So, rumor, Nelson Rodriguez wants to sell the academy, but there's an MLS rule that, each MLS club has to have their own academy system. So this is a rumor. I don't know if this is true or not. Heard this on Twitter the last couple days. I think this is probably one of the most egregious things I have heard coming out of this front office. Probably number one on my list of just craziness, egregious things that Nelson has ever proposed. I don't know if this is true or not, but God, the fact that they would even think of that, or if that is true, that's really, really shocking. Scary. They're stripping us of assets. What are we going to have left? The academy was one of the only things we had, or have.
Wow.
It's
I'm looking at the canary in the birdcage.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this canary, and it's dead.
Yeah.
The canary in the coal mine is dead, because that is the canary in the coal mine to me. And I'm like, holy cow, are they trying to Chivas this right now? Because why else are you trying to sell? Why else are you trying to get rid of the things that you need to have a club in MLS? Why are you trying to get rid of these things?
It just doesn't make any sense.
Unless you're trying to actively to just burn this team down, to put this team in the ground, to make this team fold.
What European... Manchester United, I mean, Ajax, the most famous, all those clubs in who is it? What's the Portuguese clubs that I can't think of? Maybe it's Benfica.
Porto, FC Porto?
Porto. I mean,
Benfica,
there's so many clubs that are famous for their youth system, and they sell and they make money and they get good young players for the cheap. It's just it makes sense, and the fact that you want to get rid of that, it's laughable. It's laughable.
Tweety's dead. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Nelson killed Tweety. He either didn't feed him, or he's just decapitated him.
Rumor has it that they were going to sell it to a local club, and I think that
Soccer
it would be affiliated
Magic.
Still with Chicago, but no, or FC United, I heard.
But that can't happen per MLS rules.
Hampton Downers, yeah, I don't know.
Why would...
I don't know, it's
why
ridiculous.
Why would MLS, some stooge, Nelson Rodriguez, who supposedly knows all the ins and outs of MLS, try and go against MLS rules unless he just doesn't know that?
I think that's a big red flag to the MLS front office. I mean, come on, this guy's trying to sell our academy system.
21 other owners other owners are looking at Hotman like, dude, what are you, dude? We want to make this league respectable, and we have the third largest, potentially biggest club in our league, just with nobody at the wheel. Nobody's driving.
Soccer city. It's a good soccer city. We have a lot of good club systems. Chicago is a good area for youth soccer.
It's the fifth largest Mexican population in outside of Mexico.
I mean, that doesn't even matter. It's just It's just a huge youth soccer.
What I'm saying is, it's a soccer crazy.
It's a soccer crazy state.
And they have no idea how to capitalize on it, and that means they all should be canned.
And that shows by all the old Fire members are not in the front office anymore.
And that's the biggest indicator that there are no actually ex-Fire people involved in the organization. That's the other Tweety that's been dead for a long time.
Let's move on, though, James, because we got quite a bit to talk about. Sure. So, Rafa Ramos gone, free transfer, went to FC 20, who I believe was relegated. So that's a trade that we just poofed into nothing. And think about Vaquero, that kind of poofed into nothing. So
Two.
Yeah, what do you think about that, James?
2 trades done this year that have been offloaded and meant nothing. The other thing is, though, that the book for me was out on Rafa Ramos immediately when I saw the guy play, and I knew that the guy, I didn't think he was good enough, and I immediately predicted basically the first time I saw him, like, this guy's not going to be here next season. Boom, proof in the pudding. He's gone. He's just not good enough. But he did get re-signed to FC 20, a relegated club some people may have heard of. But Eredivisie, but they were relegated. They've been going through some financial troubles. But good that he can hopefully he can get some playing time there. If he's successful there and turns into a piece, that would be interesting comment upon Pauno.
Next, so Nelson's transfer activity is dead. Transfer rumors are dead. So we're in the start of August, and there's not really any transfer rumors or activity. So very, very concerning.
When the July 10th came and went without any surprising announcements already in the book and already logged up, you knew it was trouble. The real question is, with 6 games now lost in a row for MLS,
franchise record,
and Pauno still not getting that contract that Nelson all but promised him in the beginning of the season. Should Paunovic lose this next upcoming game, which is going to be the U.S. Open Cup game against David Beckham and Philadelphia Union, should he lose that, and there's nothing at stake for the rest of the season, do we see Pauno get canned and leave for Nelson's mistakes, and maybe do we see a Klopas or a Logan Paz or Eric Gehrig take over?
I don't see Pauno getting fired just because I feel like that is damning for Nelson. His first hire, he promised us 3 years to be a winning club in 3 years in his first hire. Granted, he hired an inexperienced U20 coach.
Who's learning
Pauno's still learning. I like Pauno, but he's still young and he's learning, and there's still some gaps in his tactical knowledge and his man management skills. So
and those gaps are made wider by not getting the types of players that he needs.
I don't want a coach learning on the fly. I'm sorry, I like Pauno, but I don't want my coach learning on the fly. I want a ready-made coach.
You want a Greg Berhalter.
Yeah. So not all on Pauno. I don't think Pauno's going to get fired because I think, like I said, I think it's going to indict Nelson a little bit. But this is on Nelson, and it's scary to see that. He's got a contract extension, and he's going to keep being here.
Will he protect Pauno because he's his self-professed soccer soulmate? And to be honest, absolutely 0% of the season should be hung on Pauno. It's all on Nelson. This is all on Nelson.
You can hang last year.
You can hang last
year's playoffs, by getting bounced. Sure.
Absolutely, I hang that, but I also see the fact that he never got to build off of that success because Nelson gave him an empty cupboard. And it's hard to make anything when the kitchen's not stocked.
Kitchen wasn't stocked.
Another name I'll throw at you, maybe Eric Winalda needs something to do, and I would love to bring his fiery temper over to the Chicago Fire.
People always throw out Bruce Arena too.
Well, Winalda would probably clash so much with Hotman. He'd be like, this the guy who hired me is not giving me any.
What about
resources.
Juan Carlos Osorio?
He would be too much of a truth sayer. That Juan Carlos Osorio is going to be too in demand.
Yeah.
Too in demand.
He might go to. Isn't he Colombian?
He could go back to Colombia to potentially take over their team, or even U.S. men's national team.
That would be awesome. Let's move on. So one thing we still have to look forward to is the U.S. Open Cup game Wednesday at 6 p.m. versus Philadelphia. It is going to be streamed. I believe it's just the Chicago Fire puts like a website tweet out. It's on their website. It's a stream, and you can watch it for free. So that is on Wednesday. James, is that a winnable game for us?
Absolutely. Yes. That's where all the baskets are. Hope may feel down right now just because of our stretch of results, but let's point to the last win came in the U.S. Open Cup against Louisville. So
Katai scores in the Open Cup too.
And
not Katai, Nico.
Nico scores. And when it comes to the U.S. Open Cup, Fire has all their eggs in this basket, so you're going to see all the best players will be playing. But with all the best players' form kind of up and fluctuation, it's no promises.
Dax still.
And no Dax. There's no promises of a great result. If Philadelphia has been trending upwards as of late, a little bit, but they haven't been floundering as much as the Fire.
I think no Dax and still having that back line be in flux.
Well, this entire lineup's in flux.
You
only have 5 or 7 MLS caliber players, and if Philadelphia Union decides to put all 11 of their MLS caliber players out on the field,
probably will.
Then the Fire are going to be in a lot of trouble.
Is Cleveland going to start again?
Probably. Based off this last match, maybe he does get a shot. Yeah. But this is actually probably the biggest question mark for Pauno is who do you start in net? Do you start Richard Sanchez, whose confidence is all shot to Swiss cheese, or do you start Stephen Cleveland, who showed just the same amount of promise as Sanchez, but maybe have it better between the ears right now because he just had that fresh start.
I think you have that grass is always greener.
Confidence stuff.
I think you have that grass is always greener approach right now.
But then we've also seen his results against some college teams, and he's earlier this season, and we know that Stephen Cleveland.
Long ago, James.
Yes.
We've seen what Richard is not the option. He's not getting it done in between the ears. I don't know if it's in between the ears or his skill.
At this point, it is.
He has. You got to try someone else. It's just at this point you got to try.
But hence the eggs are all in that basket, and now you got to hang your. Now Nelson and Paunovic both have to hang their hat on Stephen Cleveland or Richard Sanchez. They dug their own grave.
I'm going to give the kid that wants to prove it. Moving on, we have 10 games left in the MLS, and the outlook doesn't look very good. We're falling in the East right now. We are 10th in the East.
It's over. It's over.
Hold on, Jamesy. 24 games played, 6 wins, 5 draws, 13 losses. Still 10 games left, but 5 of those are against very good opponents. Red Bull, Crew, New York City FC, LAFC, and Atlanta United. So still some good competition.
Yeah, right. This season was over before it started because of Nelson Rodriguez. And then it grew worse.
What's that? We were dead before the ship.
Dead on arrival.
Dead on arrival.
DOA.
Dead before the ship even sank. Whatever.
Dead before the ship even left the dock.
Whatever. Okay, a few more things we're going to talk about.
This season was the Titanic.
A few things I want to talk about. I had a poll on Twitter. I'm going to ask you a question here, James. Which departed/injured player would currently help the team the most? Akam, Polster, Lamson, Miera. Now, I did not include MDL or Georgie because they're coming back and they should be getting some minutes. So I put Polster on there because he's pretty much out for the whole year.
Wow, you can make a great argument for any
Akam,
one of
Polster,
those.
Lamson, or Miera.
You can make a great argument for actually each and every one of those. Let me write down Lamson as well. Lamson provided a bit more solidness back there than any of these two guys has all season. Unfortunately, we really wanted Richard Sanchez to succeed. We learned that there's a reason why Matt Lamson was getting more starts in MLS and still somewhat is compared to Richard Sanchez.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Polster. We'll get to a common mirror. They may have the biggest cases. Losing Polster has been one of the biggest detriments, though, and not having his reliability in his offense going forward. You went from starting the season with 6 MLS caliber players to 5 in that first game. To 5. Yeah. You only gained 2 lately in Nico Hasler and Raheem Edwards. So now we're up to 7, but now we still can't count Matt. because Matt's still not here. We can't count MDL. MDL's still not here. Georgie's hasn't reached that echelon quite yet.
And you can't really count on them when they get back because they're going to be getting their lungs and their legs under them.
100%. People, I keep seeing people asking, "Oh, where's MDL? Like he's going to save this season." Dude,
he's worried about just getting minutes under his belt right now.
Let's worry about him saving his own career. Next season, he could help us save the season because, honestly, I mean, he's going to come back no matter what. He's going to be at 80 or 90%, even at his best for the rest of the season. You know, that's just the nature of ACL surgery, whether or not you have the greatest medical care in the world coming at you or not. David Accam was so sorely missed, and once you saw Raheem Edwards come into the club, you could see that wow, we've been missing David Accam so much. If we had David Accam this whole season, if we had him, I think this team is maybe in sixth.
We had 14 goals, maybe 8 assists last year.
But we'd be so much better off with David Accam versus the way it is now. And we only got Raheem Edwards until it was way too late. And if we would have had a half a season of David and then gotten Raheem to back him up, what are you thinking, Nelson? Right? You're oh my gosh, you're
Mira,
such a buffoon. Last. And João Mira, of course he wanted to leave, so there was no stopping him. But the fact of the matter is he wasn't replaced. He wasn't correctly replaced.
Still doesn't have his own team, I think.
No, he's playing in Sweden or Norway. He's playing up in the Nordic area.
Copenhagen, maybe?
Something of that nature. Somewhere up there.
But yeah, he's
Nordic.
Mixed, you're right.
Somewhere Nordic-based, because whatever club he did initially sign up for had some financial troubles. Unfortunate but true, and he was able to move on. But he was still trying to live out in Europe by his family, so there was really no him coming back here. But his presence has been ridiculously missed, and he's not even that...
his organization.
He's not even that great.
You just miss his organization.
He was just... Yeah. But his partnership with Johan was...
Chemistry was there.
Was way better than anything else on this team. And then you went from 2 MLS caliber center backs to 1. And then you stayed at 1. And then you entered the season at 1. And then... And July 10th entered, and you maintained at 1. And so these are all these holes that have just been left to fester. Nelson Rodriguez needs to be canned well before Veljko Paunovic is.
So before you get into that, let me give my 2 cents on it. So there were 70 votes on this. I put it on Twitter. Accam with 19%, Polster with 40%, Lampson with 9%, and Miera with 38%. I would agree. I think losing Polster probably hurt. That was one of the biggest things that hurt us, this year. We lost his offensive production. I believe he had like 6-7 assists last year, something like that. Great two-way player, could play defense. I mean, a great defensive fullback. Even could have played center back instead of Brandon this year.
Tremendous.
I would say David. David was at 19%, 14 goals, 8 assists last year. Katai is matching his goals output, but Katai I think he has 3 assists this year. So and Accam had 8. So Accam created a little bit too, so you're missing that. Like you said, maybe Edwards will slot in there.
We predicted that as well, that Katai would take away goals from Nico and maybe not help as much as Nico. He just didn't seem like the player that would help Nico score like Accam did.
Yeah. No, you're right. They complemented each other better.
Because Accam was a bit more, despite his selfishness, he still has some selflessness too when it comes to offense.
Yes. And then, of course, Mira, like you said, organization.
Both selfish players.
Lampson, you just trust him a little bit more. Last thing I'm going to get into here. We're going to finish it up because we're getting a little long.
Did you mention Mira?
Yes. Talk to Mira, just organizing, being a good complement with Kapilov. So, 2017 stats. Last thing we're going to finish up here. Nico had 24 goals. Accam 14 goals. Lucho 7 goals. MDL 3. Basti 3. This year, currently, Nico with 10. Katai with 9. Gordon with 4. Basti with 4. Ellis with 2. Okay, assists. Accam with 8, MDL with 8.
You're talking last. You got to make sure you know what years you're talking.
2017 assist. Accam 8, MDL 8, Polster 7, Basti 6, Vincent 5.
Not a single assist for MDL this
year.
No game.
Basti 6 assists, Bronico 4, Ellis 4, Katai 4, Kapelhoff 3. So. Last year, they scored quite a bit. They were one of the more potent scoring teams in the league. This year, they're middle of the road.
And they weren't even a good offense
upper to middle of the road, but they are one of the worst defensive teams in the league right now. They have there's 23 teams in the MLS. So right 22. Now, I believe there's 23.
Maybe next year when
I think it's 23.
When Miami joins or something like that.
Either way, they've given up
Cincinnati.
I think it's 23. Either way, they've given up the second most goals in the league. They have the second worst GD in the league. All of this, Orlando City's below them. Orlando City's below them. They give up the third most shots in the league, 15 shots per game. They have the sixth most tackles in the league at 17.7. Sixth most interceptions in the league with 14.6 per game. And then aerial duels, they are sixth to last at winning aerial duels. And goals, their offense, they're 13th in the league for offense with 35 goals, but last in the league for shots and fourth to last in the league in shots on goal. And they actually get possession. They're 11th out of 23 for possession in the league. Pass accuracy is 9 out of 23, so they possess. Somehow they don't possess very well. Somehow generate a little bit of, they generate chances off the little possession and little shots that they get. That's really just due to Nico's conversion rate. Nico's conversion rate is way better than Katai's conversion rate right now. But that's all I got. Any thoughts on that? Sorry if I butchered that.
Well, all it makes me think of is Football Manager 19 has a lot to figure out when it comes to Chicago Fire next year.
Yeah.
How do you measure how these guys play? They're just you just have a team that's just not good enough here. Yeah. And going back to your poll, imagine having this year's team with all four of those players.
Those additions, yeah.
And then I don't think you would have nearly the level of drop-off that you've had. Losing David Accam, losing Lamson, unfortunately, and losing Jaumira, all at the beginning of the season, never having any of those three guys replaced in a timely fashion, really hurt. Losing Matt Polster, first game of the season, really, really hurt, but you still had, Rafa Ramos, Ellis, and Drew Connor that you could potentially rely on. But by having those other holes already there, that whole problem and the rest of the problems are all just too many problems to have. Mm-hmm. That's just way too many problems to have.
Just too many moving parts.
And Nelson just did not set this team up with an ability to have already some built-in solutions. He tried to have the built-in solution with Rafa Ramos for where he thought Matt Polster might inevitably go down. But in addition to that, you still got to fill the hole of left wing. You still got to fill the hole in right wing. You still have to fill the hole of Cam.
And you got to do this. You got to do this in preseason.
You still have to fill the hole.
You can't do this with. You can't do this with 10 games left when you're 7 points out of the playoff spot, and then you have to get acclimated to the league, acclimated to your team, get that team chemistry. It's just like it's just I don't know. Like you said, NR. I don't know what happened this year.
It's impossible to have a successful MLS season when you only have 5 MLS caliber players on a team that requires at least 18. You need 18, and that's when when they play those rotation squads, the drop off is so much more steeper, so much more significant because they're already playing with half that USL squad, and then you take that top half off, and oh my gosh, the level just drops so much more. Yeah. And so you got a USL team playing RSL, who already has half of a USL team themselves, but their USL just gets a lot more practice and better practice.
Let's end this though.
And they also had a couple more top end players in. Right? Yeah, I guess that's about it for us. We're feeling really dejected with this season. I mean, as many of you probably are. And really, this next result is the moment that this entire season is hinged upon. Yep. If Pauno and the club doesn't get a result, wow, I don't think that we're going to see more than 2,000 or 3,000 people at the stadium for the rest of the season.
Except for the Wayne Rooney match, maybe Atlanta.
That'll probably be the biggest match. Population-wise.
Atlanta's away. My bad.
Atlanta will definitely bring. There's probably a couple of draws, but it's just going to be so much harder to get people out to this club to support this club because there's nothing to support. It's so hard to support this. And you know what? The other thing, it's got to be so hard for the players to go in every day and support this. And having such crappy things around them, they have nothing to help bring them out of this. They walk into their crappy little soccer field, and it's still crappy, and they still have crappy little dirt mound.
They're always in a funk.
And so the depression,
so much negativity.
It's just a club of negativity that just gets worse and worse negativity because there's nothing built around the club that can give you a boost. You know what? If you were losing and you came to a world-class facility to train, maybe that could give you a little boost, though. A little bit like,
and you don't have, you have a fractured fan base that doesn't really follow, it's just
Nobody cares.
It's just, yeah. But anyways, James, we're getting long.
We're getting way too long. But this Nelson Rodriguez, you screwed up the season. You better fall on your own sword to take care of it, because that's the only thing that's going to ever fix this fan base or give us some rejuvenation and give this fan base some life. Going into the end of the season is lost. There's only 10 games left. Playoffs are done. There are no playoff chances. All you have is MLS Cup. And gosh darn it, if you lose that, what do you have left to hang your hat on this season? This has been one of the most least successful administrations in the Fired history, and it just came out the other day when Guillermo posted that article. And here Nelson is saying, like, oh, it's so great over here, but when we actually look in past history, these guys have been given more resources and more ability and more freedoms and have done less with it. And that's egregious, and that's unacceptable. And until we have an owner that actually cares about on-field results, nothing's going to change and nothing's going to matter. And maybe who knows? Maybe this team just needs to fold.
Okay. All right. Finally.
I hope it does.
Toss us a like if you. I
want them to do growth.
Season's coming to the end. Hopefully we get some wins coming in. We don't need another franchise record 7 loss. But thank you guys for watching. Have a good day. See ya.